Tosh Dilek, welcome to Tibet TV's weekly analysis. On 2nd April, Center for Democracy, Pluralism and Human Rights, in short CDPHR, based in New Delhi, released human rights reports of 7 neighboring countries of India, and Tibet is one of them. During the report launch, Dr. Lobsang Sangye, President of Central Tibetan Administration, was invited as the chief guest. To discuss on Tibet's human rights report and situation, I am joined by Mr. Vivekananda Natham, who is General Secretary of the Center for Democracy, Pluralism and Human Rights. Let us discuss in depth about the report. Welcome to Tibet TV, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me over the program. I appreciate it.
So, recently your institute released human rights reports of India's 7 neighboring countries, and Tibet is one of them. So, sir, can you tell our audience how severe is Tibet's human rights situation?
In the span of 6 months research while preparing a report on Tibet, because I happen to be the writer of the report on Tibet, what I have found out through in the course of research, what I found out is the human rights situation in Tibet is you know is in great danger. The PRC and the PRC mechanism, administrative mechanism of People's Republic of China, has sort of violated the human rights of Tibetan people on every count, every provision in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and then covenant on and political rights and economic and cultural rights, and the subsequent covenants which have talked about rights of children, rights of women, and other issues. We found that the human rights situation is is poor. Should I say one of the poorest? Uh, his Excellency Dr. Lobsang Sangye, President of Central Tibetan Administration, he remained present as the chief guest of our report release program on 2nd of April, as you have mentioned. He has also very categorically stated that the institutes like Freedom House have measured the situation of human rights in Tibet as one of the poorest in the world. So we believe that there is urgent need on the part of international community to do something about this and to stand in solidarity with people of Tibet.
Sir, as you said that institutes like Freedom House and Human Rights Watch marked Tibet as the least free country in the world. So, sir, when it comes to your institute, what are the major parameters of human rights according to your institute being violated in Tibet?
There are various parameters on which we have tried to analyze the situation of human rights in Tibet. We have started off with how China illegally occupied the Tibetan territory, and thereby the process of repression and the process of assimilation of Tibetan identity with that of major Chinese identity or inland Chinese identity started. Then there are extrajudicial practices, which that lead to persecution of activists and human rights defenders, suppression of environmental defenders or environmental activism, handling of of the hounding of anti-corruption activities, violation of socio-cultural educational rights of Tibetan people. For example, in 2019, they adopted a bilingual education policy in which they have started introducing Mandarin language over Tibetan language. That have gravely, that has created a grave situation in which the Tibetan people are living under the danger of losing their identity, because if their children are taught in Mandarin language, so they would be taught the mainland culture and not the Tibetan culture. Then rights of freedom of expression, freedom of privacy, freedom of assembly, then exercising right to fair trial, and these are some of the parameters on the basis of which we have judged. And then another thing is freedom of religion. We know that at Yachungar and Darungar, forgive me on my pronunciations, since I don't know the Tibetan language, but the most revered and the prominent monasteries in Tibet have been demolished. Thousands of monks and nuns in these monasteries have been evicted from those places. So these are some of the issues which are very serious when it comes to protecting and preserving human rights of Tibetan people, their cultural identity. So these are some of the parameters we try to judge the situation of human rights in Tibet.
Okay, sir. During the report launch, Dr. Lobsang Sangye was invited as the chief guest. So my question is, what was his main message, and how was the response from public?
It was so well received from public because due to COVID situation, we did not have very huge gathering. We actually had representatives from the academy and think tanks and the people working with various civil society organizations. So we had gathering of some 150 people, but then their representatives, we believe, a large section of the society who are concerned for the uh, human rights in general and human rights of Tibetan people in particular. And His Excellency Dr. Lobsang Sangye, President of Central Tibetan Administration, has quite categorically put the message forward. He said that the Chinese policy is an expansionist policy, and he cited the recent examples how China intruded in India through Galwan valleys and other places, and you know China has already captured the palm, that's Tibet, and it is adopting five-finger policy. It is wanting to have the control over five fingers, and those five fingers are Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, and Arunachal Pradesh and Ladakh. So these are the places. These are the places, and therefore, the Asian country, Asian region, and South Asia in particular, and also world community need to be careful about China's expansion policies. Another thing that he talked very specifically was on the name of poverty alleviation, Chinese government or Chinese administrative mechanism has tried to introduce certain policies which are lead to deprivation of cultural and economic agency of Tibetan people. At the same, he also talked about how China is using intimidation tactics in international human rights bodies or at United Nations also, and it is trying to push to its own version of human rights in these bodies. And then the world community is also sort of trying to become, is sort of becoming reticent to talk about human rights of Tibetan people in particular and the minorities of Chinese administrative mechanism or PRC's territory in general. And then therefore said, uh, if we have to, assuage the situation, if we have to talk about the human rights of Uyghur people in Xinjiang, then it's not a task of one country or three countries together, but the whole of the world community, which is concerned for the human rights, will have to come together, stand in solidarity with minorities in general and Tibetan people in particular on Tibetan land.
Sir, I've gone through the executive summary of your institute's report on Tibet, and your institute has mentioned some recommendations for the Chinese government in order to facilitate space for more human rights in Tibet. So, what are these major recommendations?
Right. Now, the recommendations, there are so many of them, but we may not cover all of them. But what we believe is, in order to assess the rightful or the truer situation of human rights in Tibet, or the realistic aspect of how human rights of Tibetan people are being violated, it is important that the international community puts pressure on the communist Chinese government and allow the independent journalists, human rights monitors, civil society activists, and representatives of various governmental and non-governmental organizations, like the governmental organizations we know, UNHRC and the UN bodies, and the non-governmental organizations like Human Rights Watch and other organizations, and Center for Democracy and Pluralism and Human Rights. We do want to do something about this. So these activists and these journalists and civil society activists be allowed to go and assess the real-time situation, human rights violations in Tibet. Then another thing that we have talked about in our recommendations is that the People's Republic of Chinese, the administrative mechanism should correct laws and policies that are responsible for violation of human rights. And then, as I have also talked about in terms of, educational rights of children, linguistic rights of certain people, free speech, religion, belief, fair trial. This is very important thing, and peaceful assembly that are provided in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and various other covenants which have come up in terms of international human rights. We also have talked about uh, PRC should allow the ethnic minorities to express freely in the socio-political, cultural. The Tibetan minorities or the minorities in China should be allowed to express their socio-political and cultural expressions, and PRC should release all the people which it has detained for such a long time, on the name of handling the evil forces, or on the name of integrating other people into larger Chinese identity. So these are some of the recommendations, and there are so many. Due to paucity of time, I may not enlist all of them. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to end our interview with a question on Indo-China border tension. As an independent think tank, what roles do you think the government of India should take to solve the issue of Tibet and stabilize the border tension between India and China?
Yeah, as I have mentioned in one of my previous comments, that His Excellency Dr. Lobsang Sangye, President of Central Tibetan Administration, also has talked that China is adopting the expansionist policy. Our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, also in the wake of the Galwan Valley and uh, the fight between the Chinese soldiers and Indian soldiers losing their lives. And since China happens to be an authoritarian regime, it did not reveal how many of its security personnel died, but they also died. So essentially, our Prime Minister also mentioned very categorically that the days of expansionism are over, and therefore the world community will not tolerate the expansionist postures of any country. He did not refer directly to China, but then that's what his message intended. Uh, Again, to go back to my go back to the comments at various places that Dr. Lobsang, His Excellency President Central Tibet Administration, has maintained at various platforms. He says that uh, Tibet happens to be Chela and India is the guru, because the Buddhism has went from India to Tibet. So it is the responsibility of India to stand in solidarity, not only to protect the political and cultural and religious identity of the Tibetan people, but also to protect the identity or the philosophy that India has um, you know uh, exported to Tibet, or and then this identity has well preserved by some of the well-known figures of Tibet uh, culture, and His Holiness Dalai Lama happens, I believe, the most prominent example who has done that internationally, and therefore, not only for Tibetan people's identity and culture, but also ours, the Indian security perspective is that calls for the action on the part of Indian people or Indian regime to stand in solidarity, and I think have done are doing, have done in the past as well. But we need to do something more than that, in compared to what we have done so far.
Okay, sir, with this, we're going to end our interview here. And I would like to thank you for joining Tibet TV's weekly analysis and taking out time for this particular interview. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me over the program and listening to me, my dears.